David here with Figboot on Pens. Today I have kind of a mini review for you, and I have something which presented a bit of a challenge as to how I was going to review it. What I have isn't necessarily a fountain pen, it's a fountain pen body. It's produced by the Japanese company Wancher, and is called the Silk Road Goldfish Maquille. What I'm going to do is go over the parts and the feature of this body and talk about what I care for and what I don't care for about it. I'll show some measurements and size comparisons, but I'm not going to provide a writing sample because this pen doesn't necessarily arrive with a nib section, so that you need to provide your own, which is something I'll cover here in just a little bit. This pen body was loaned to me by Wancher, and after this review, it will be returned back to Japan. The pen arrives in this nice softwood box. It would be nice to have some kind of logo or some other Japanese lettering or writing on the outside of this box. The lid lifts off, and inside we have a warranty card, and then there is a QR code that's going to bring up a generic fountain pen manual. And then we have the fountain pen body. The pen kind of sits here in this little trough in the wood. Now, this box is actually compact enough that I might consider keeping the pen in here when it's not in use, but it kind of rattles around in here, and I don't like it rubbing up against the wood. It might have been nicer if there was some type of lining in here or something along those lines. But here is the Wancher Silk Road Goldfish Maquille fountain pen body. Wancher offers 3 different varieties of bodies, each with a different look. They have what they call the cigar red model. Then they have another with that's inlaid with mother of pearl. And then we have this goldfish model. The pen is made from ebonite and is covered with black urushi lacquer. Then on top of that, there are paintings of 3 goldfish. Let's start by taking a look at the end of the cap. It is rounded, and the cap tapers up until about here, and then it's straight. And then there's a rounded step down to the barrel, which slowly tapers down to the end of the barrel, which is again rounded, but a little more pointed than the cap. In size, it is very similar in size to a Sailor King of Pen ebonite. So in comparison, this is a Sailor King of Pen ebonite, and you can see how they look very, very similar, except for the King of Pen ebonite has a clip on it, or at least mine does. But they're very similar in size. In regard to the maquille, there are 3 fish, 2 on the cap and 1 on the barrel. The 2 on the cap are two-toned with red and gold, and the 1 on the barrel is more red. One of the things I like to check out when taking a look at maquille pens is to kind of attempt to verify if the painting on each body is unique. They do have a silk screening process that some lesser expensive maquille pens use that applies identical treatments to every single pen. And according to my eye, everything on this pen tells me that it is indeed hand-painted. And while they are very similar, there are minor differences between this specific pen and pictures of other pens in this line that I've seen. There's some really nice detail in the fish, though. Each of the fish have a bit of shimmer to them, and they look really nice, especially if you catch it just right in the light. Now, the cap twists off. Now, this is one of the issues I had with this body. When capping the pen again, the threads are just fine to start, but then they get way too tight. If you stop twisting when you feel it getting too tight, you're left with a little gap here. Now, it's very secure. The cap isn't coming off, but in essence, you're not able to fully cap the pen, and that's an issue for me. Now, if you really twist it, you can secure it down, but I just am afraid when I'm doing so that I'm really going to break the ebonite. Every time you use and cap this pen, it shouldn't be as if you are opening and closing some troublesome pickle jar. It might not be like that on every single one of these models, but it is that way on this specific body. The cap does post, but it really doesn't post securely, and I personally wouldn't post it in fear of damaging the urushi or the maquille. And, you might have noticed that when you remove the cap, you can see here that there isn't a section or nib. This body does not come with one, but what fits in here is a Sailor King of Pen nib section, just like the one that comes in this King of Pen Ebonite. And I'll go ahead and just borrow that from here, and it fits right in. So what I'm going to do now is take a look at some measurements of this pen with the King of Pen nib section attached. Now, Sailor does not sell these parts. I spoke with a couple of retailers who carry Sailor products because I wanted to see what the cost was to purchase a King of Pen nib and section unit here. And that they both let me know that Sailor does not offer those parts for general sale or even for special order. I think one of the retailers told me they were able to get one once, but it was enough of a pain that they would never do it again. Basically, the only way to obtain one of these is to purchase a pen that actually comes with one. Any of the Sailor King of Pen models should work, or even the classic pen LB5. They all use the same identical nib unit. Now, it's interesting because I have 5 different pens in my collection which utilize the King of Pen nib unit. Each are medium, but each of the 5 have distinct personalities. Some are more firm, others have more flex, others have a bit more bounce, some are more smooth, and some are more crisp. But they are some of my favorite nibs in my collection. I just love them. This is not an inexpensive body. Through the Wancher site, it retails for $600, which might seem a lot for just a body, but if you take into consideration the cost of the nib, if you could purchase one, then it puts the pen in comparison with other Urushi and Maki pens at around the $1,000 range, which, while it is a hefty sum, it's not necessarily unreasonable for a pen of this type. So, this body is marketed toward a very niche market. It's for users who already own a Sailor King of Pen nib unit and want to change out the nibs for some variety and versatility in their collection. It's an interesting concept. While I love the King of Pen nib unit, it might have been nicer to make this body usable with a more obtainable unit that could be purchased on its own or included with the pen. I appreciate Wancher letting me check this out, though. I'll provide a link below in the notes where you can check out this body as well as the other 2 models of bodies that they offer. So I hope you enjoyed taking a look at something a little bit different today in this more condensed review. So thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you later.